You know that feeling, right? You find yourself getting irritable, impatient, kind of seeing the worst in people, and then you grab a snack and realize, oh, I was just hungry. Well, today, we're going to explore what happens when that exact same feeling applies not to our stomachs, but to our souls. It's a concept called spiritual hunger, and it can literally change the way you see the entire world.
It all starts with this really simple, super relatable idea. We have all been there. That feeling when a lack of food just makes you difficult. You're impatient, you're irritable, maybe a little unreasonable.
Yeah, there's a word for it, hangry. The sermon this explainer is based on kicks off with this hilarious personal story. The preacher talks about how he realized his hunger made him so difficult that one of his coworkers actually kept a secret stash of Snickers bars just for him. And whenever she thought he was getting a little off, she'd just toss one at him. He'd eat it, and all of a sudden, his coworker would seem so much more reasonable, so much more competent. His physical hunger was literally distorting his perception of reality.
Okay, so let's take that idea and flip it. What if this physical thing we all experience has a much deeper spiritual parallel? Is it possible that sometimes we're not just hangry, we're spiritually hangry?
We're not just talking about food anymore. This is about a hunger for something more, for meaning, for connection, for purpose, maybe for God. It's a kind of nourishment that our souls actually need. And just like with physical hunger, when we're starved of it, our senses can get all thrown out of whack.
And look at how subtle these symptoms are. It's not like you suddenly become a terrible person overnight. No, it's more like a slow drift. You might find yourself being a little less forgiving than you usually are, or holding on to grudges just a little bit longer. You feel a little more resentful, but you can't even put your finger on why. You just kind of start to lose touch with your best self.
And this, right here, gets to the absolute core of the problem. A lot of the time, we are completely unaware of our own spiritual hunger. It's only when we take that first bite, of prayer or community or just some quiet reflection that we have that aha moment and realize, wow, I was famished. I needed this way more than I knew.
So if we don't even know we're hungry, what happens? Well, that lack of awareness leads us right to our next point, an unrecognized hunger. Because when we get that hungry, we often fail to see the very thing that could feed us, even when it's right in front of our faces.
It's like our spiritual hunger puts on a set of blinders, and it stops us from seeing the hope or the connection or the answers we are so desperately searching for. To really understand this, the sermon points us to this powerful 2,000-year-old story.
This brings us to a sort of case study from the Gospel of Luke. It's the story of two disciples on the road to a town called Emmaus.
So picture this journey. You have these two followers of Jesus, and they are completely devastated. They're walking away from Jerusalem, just lost and confused. Then a stranger joins them. Now it's actually Jesus, but their grief and their spiritual hunger are so profound that they just can't see him. He listens to them pour out their sadness, and then he starts walking them through their own sacred stories, explaining how everything was pointing to this very moment. They feel something stirring inside, but they still don't get it. It's only when they all sit down for a meal and he breaks the bread that everything clicks.
This is the big moment. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him. The very thing they were longing for most was literally walking right beside them the whole time, but they couldn't see it until they took part in this simple, familiar ritual, sharing a meal.
But here's the really interesting part. Their recognition wasn't just some sudden flash of light. After Jesus vanishes, they look back on the whole experience and they realize the signs were there all along. It was a feeling, a deep internal stirring that came first. This is the question they ask each other. That burning heart, that was their spirit realizing it was being fed even before their minds and their eyes could catch up. Their souls recognized the nourishment before their intellect even had a clue. Okay, so that's a really powerful ancient story. But why does it matter for us today? Well, this brings us to what we're calling the pattern of recognition.
And this is where it gets really fascinating. The central insight of the sermon is that this journey to Emmaus, it's not just a one-time event from history. It's actually a blueprint, a deliberate pattern that is relived over and over again in rituals like a traditional Christian worship service.
Look at this. The connection is laid out so clearly. The disciples gathering on the road, all lost and confused, that's the gathering of a congregation. Jesus explaining the scriptures to them and making their hearts burn, that is the liturgy of the word, the sermon. And that final moment of recognition in the breaking of the bread, that is directly mirrored in the liturgy of the table, what many call communion. It's the exact same pattern, and it's designed to lead to the exact same kind of recognition. So what's the point of repeating this ancient pattern? Why do it week after week? That brings us to our final section. This is a meal, not a soundbite.
In our world today, we all want quick fixes, right? We want that viral clip or that catchy quote that's going to solve all our problems. But this pattern offers something totally different. The point isn't to walk away with a single piece of information.
The sermon calls this whole experience an actual spiritual meal, and I think that is the key. Just like any meal, its purpose isn't to be a one-time solution that fixes you forever. It's about providing consistent, recurring nourishment that keeps you from becoming spiritually hangry in the first place.
Ultimately, this is all about practice. It's a lived experience, not just some abstract idea. By repeatedly moving through this pattern, gathering together in our confusion, listening to stories of hope, and sharing in a symbolic meal, our senses get retuned. It helps us see the hope in the reality that was there the whole time, but which our spiritual hunger had been blinding us to.
And that really leaves us with a final thought. This liturgical pattern is one really powerful example of a ritual designed to bring clarity, but the principle behind it is universal. So I'll just leave you with this question. What about you? Whether you're religious or not, what are the patterns and the rituals in your life that feed your soul and help you see the world and yourself a little more clearly?